I'm a clinical psychologist, and I'm discussing lots of uh, hot and relevant topics with you regarding your psychological and emotional and spiritual well-being. So, what I'm discussing tonight is the second part of our um, of my talk on his needs, her needs. Now, last time I told you about the book His Needs, Her Needs, and it is a book very well known book by Willard F. Harley, and he wrote this book years ago on after years of marital counseling. Now, just to give you a brief summary of what I said last time, I think the most important part was that we don't get married primarily in order to fulfill our needs from a Christian viewpoint. We get married in order to honor the Lord and to honor the Lord through a marital relationship, and also not just to create children. That's all part of it. And we also do not primarily get married in principle because we want our husband or wife to meet our needs. That is part of why we also get married, but that's not the foundational principles. The foundational principle flows from that. It is in order to honor God through loving your spouse. So, and that sounds nice. It sounds beautiful. It's Ephesians 5 as well. Love your husbands, love your wives. Wives, respect the husbands. So give your lives to each other. And that is in a relationship with the Lord individually and co-jointly. So you both have a relationship with the Lord, and you honor the Lord in obedience to the Lord through loving your spouse. So your spouse then becomes the object of your love for the Lord. So you show your love for the Lord to your spouse in a sense. You also show your love to the Lord through its general obedience to Him. But it is shown in the people around you. If you don't love those around you, why do you want to go to a missions field and love those people? So your first mission field is the people around you, and then those the closest to you. Okay. So that's the basics. But then we as husbands and wives do differ. I know gender differences and saying, yeah, but you can't generalize men and women. It's true. But if you go and have a look at the general tendencies, men tend to like this more than women. But I'd like to make it a bit more flexible to say, look, Harley identified 10 basic needs, and I think it's rather accurate. Also based on my own marital counseling experience, and my experience of being married for almost 21 years now, I identify these needs, and I'll quickly recap them for you. So the important part here is that husbands and wives, so we share similar needs, but our needs are different, but they're only different in frequency or in intensity. They're not so different actually in the type of need. We just have different needs at different times. And this psychology these days don't just categorize things into male and female. They try and look at needs in general and see this is a relationship, they have needs, and how do we communicate it effectively. Now, for tonight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all look at the different types of needs, just give you a brief summary of what Harley says, and then give you some other information on needs. And then we're going to look at what about needs that clash? How do you deal with those? And how can you, a lot of practical inputs on negotiating needs, and also on what not to do. Okay, so hopefully I'm going to do that all within the hour. If I don't finish, I'll just do another one. Okay. Shall I begin? Nee, ja? Okay. So first of all, what we'd like to do is I'm going to summarize the different needs. That's what I said. Let me just remind myself. That's what I said I was going to do. Okay. What Harley says is he says men tend to primarily need sexual fulfillment, an exciting sexual relationship with their wives. Recreational companionship means your wife does fun activities with you, not just sex, but fun activities like cycling, hiking, whatever. I like hiking and walking and cycling and photography. And those are my favorites. My wife likes going to the movies, going to drink coffee, eating out, all those things. So we try but a husband loves it when his wife joins him in recreational companionship, which is great if she can do that. The idea is to move towards finding something that you can do with your husband that really fulfills him. An attractive spouse, that means you have to be a beauty queen all the time, day and night, even after giving birth to your baby. You must be a beauty queen. Slap me? No, don't slap me. So the idea is you need to be as attractive to your husband in the way that he loves and what he sees as attractive. Obviously, isn't it? It's marketing. You need to, you're going to buy the car that you find that you like. So find out what your husband likes and do that for him. If he's really, that'll all attract him, isn't it? And then domestic support, meaning he needs the support at home to enable him to go and get the bacon. And then admiration, that is not just because he's got a weak ego or he's this poor little stupid husband, but he needs someone to encourage and to admire, but also somebody just to boost positivity and faith into him, especially as a Christian. Yes, he needs truth, he needs correction in a sense, but careful with the correction. That's a talk for another time, but he needs a lot of encouragement and prayer and positivity, and he needs an ear as well sometimes. And he does sometimes need an objective opinion. Sometimes our wives are very good at supporting us, but sometimes they just, yes, they're wrong, you're right, but you're not always right. So, but yes, have his back, just do that. And a woman's basic needs from Holly, I think, is also sums it up well. He says affection. That means listening to her, but it's more than just that. That is nourishing her emotionally, and showing physical, non-sexual, physical affection through various things. Touch her, be gentle, be kind. Conversation is the second one. Talk to her, let her talk to you freely. If you can't talk now, make an appointment. Tell her, can I make an appointment with you for this and this time? I had a guy who's he was watching TV. His wife was so frustrated with getting his attention. She walked up to him straight, stark naked, and he just looked around her at the TV. I mean, he needs a slap. But I mean, that you shouldn't let your wife go to such lengths to get your attention. Talk to her, take her out, give her your full attention at least once a day. Honesty and openness. Try not to hide things from her. I know we do that. Some husbands do that because their wives overreact. Yes, that happens. Coffee. Who's awake this time of night? Honesty, openness, being genuine about your weaknesses as well, your vulnerabilities. Yes, if your wife's the blaming, harsh type, obviously going to struggle with that. So these things go two ways. But that's what she needs. She needs you to be vulnerable. Financial support, that's important. Now, there were times where I couldn't fully provide financially for my family. It was tough and hard, but that stretched my faith. My wife was never blaming, never accusing me. Okay, I didn't gamble all the money away, but or drink it away, whatever. But I still felt like I did it. So because I was struggling to work, and so it was. I just needed her encouragement to trust the Lord, and that helped me a lot. So that was, in a sense, that emotional support to trust the Lord, and that she's got my back. She's with me, which helped a lot, and I applaud her for that. And then family commitment, that you put the family also first in a sense of that your work is not so important that your family suffers. I know there's a difficult balance between work and family, but that's a tension that you'll always experience, and you do need to set boundaries with work so that you can get to family, because otherwise we chase success so hard that we forget about significance, right? And we lose out on that. So, okay, setting boundaries with work so that you can also put your family as a commitment, because we've all heard that on your deathbed, nobody asks to just work another hour. They ask for the family. So let's You need to prioritize the family, and that gives us security as well. Okay, so that's the basics of his needs, her needs. Now, the next question is then, but now that we're sitting with those needs, and we all have those needs, just by the way, so we just share them differently at different times. Now, Holly says an emotional need is a craving that, when satisfied, leaves you with a feeling of happiness and contentment, and when unsatisfied, leaves you with a feeling of unhappiness and frustration. So easy. So when your emotional needs are satisfied, you're happy. If not, you're disgruntled. The disgruntled employee that burns down the factory. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to become the irresistible spouse. You don't want to become the spouse that is resisted. You want to become the irresistible spouse. You want to become the person that attracts your spouse to you. And we all start off there when we woo our partners and we win our wives' hearts or our husband's affection. We win that. And then, but then later on, resistance happens when we actually fall into patterns where we do not meet each other's needs. Now, what I usually find is that people come to me and say, he doesn't meet my needs, and he says, she doesn't meet mine, or she just blames me, or he just does this. So they start blaming each other, and it becomes the other person that doesn't do this and does that, instead of saying, but what am I doing? Because people usually then justify themselves and say, but I'm right and they're wrong, and they have to apologize and grovel, baby, grovel. Go down on your knees and plead for forgiveness, and then I'll think about it. That's really angry, But so forgiveness goes hand in hand with needs. Otherwise, Billy Graham's wife said one of the keys to a happy marriage or a great marriage is people who are great forgivers. So if your husband or wife has not met your needs, one of the first things to start with is forgiveness. But then we say, okay, but they're going to do it again. Yeah, but okay, let's not go about it the same way then. So let's figure out how to change, how to really effectively meet each other's needs. So I think the principle here that I said last time is as well, and this psychology also shows this, is that we need to put our partner's needs first. Love is reciprocal, and so is blame, and so is defensiveness, attack, all anger, all those things are reciprocal. Meaning if you act that way, the other person tends to react that way. Research is very clear on this. It's in the Bible as well. Sowing and reaping kind of thing. Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, you'll find lots of it, where how can you expect somebody to love you when you attack them? We don't do that in business. Attack the customer and then expect them to really love your product. So we some people manipulate the customer, but some people also do that with their spouses. But the idea is to love your spouse so much that they return the love. But that's not your primary motive for loving them. Your primary motive is not that they return it. It is that the Lord smiles and that it makes him happy, because that draws you closer to him, this source of love. So yes, I'm going to add I'm adding this Christian viewpoint because it's the truth, and I so much want you to hear this and to share this beautiful truth because it's just wonderful. Okay, so satisfying your own emotional needs actually means putting your spouse's needs ahead of your own. So, and that does sound counter logical, because how can you satisfy your needs? But it's this reciprocal nature of it. And what it does is it keeps your expectations differently, because now you're not expecting them to all the time just meet your needs. Otherwise, it becomes a weigh-in process. I've given 5, you now need to give 5. I've given 7, now you need to give 7. You see that with children. I've cleaned up this room. Why? Now he should go and clean up that room. If he doesn't do that, I'm going to throw a tantrum. So what we really want to get to is the types of needs. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to share how you negotiate your needs. Okay, so we have 3 different types of needs. The one is that, let's say both of you have similar needs. I mean, you both want to go hiking this weekend in the Drakensberg in KwaZulu-Natal. You want to go hike there, Great. I mean, who's going to fight about that? Both of you want to. Or you have different needs. You want to go hike, husband, but your wife wants to go to the spa, or the other way around, whatever. It doesn't conflict. Both of you are happy. You're happy to do this. Great stuff. But what about if those needs conflict, if they clash, if they are at loggerheads with each other? So they clash. That's where we usually get stuck. And that's where we struggle to negotiate these conflicting needs. And sometimes it escalates into a huge fight and ends up with blame. And you've done this. You never care about me. And all those things. So I'll add a bit later on what not to do. So how do you negotiate those conflicting needs? Now, okay, what you need to do, there's a lot of things you need to do, but obviously put your partner's needs first. But I think before that even you put the Lord first, meaning, and it sounds so good in theory, but I heard all of these things and I really had to sit and genuinely, because the Lord wants you to be genuinely talk to the Lord, confess what I've done wrong. That's repentance as well. Being genuine with him and saying, look, Lord, this is what's frustrating me in marriage. And I was honest with him. I mean, no use me telling a therapist or my friend what really bothers me in marriage. But when I get to the Lord, I just have this holy face. No, man, just be real with the Lord, but humble. And tell the Lord and be open to hear him. He won't come down like a ton of bricks on you unless you have a friggin' thick skull, okay, and you're hard-headed and hard of hearing. He will just have to shake you, but it's not necessary when you humble yourself, because then the Lord doesn't have to resist you. So and then be honest in asking what you really want from the marriage, and open yourself up so that the Lord can start to conform you to his image, to change the way you think and talk. And what he will do is he will stop you sometimes. He will nudge you to do some things, but in focusing on your partner's needs, yes, you'll that's a good start. And then you also need to ask your partner questions like, what can I do for you that'll make you feel loved? If your partner doesn't know that, give them the questionnaire. Your needs, love languages. I'll attach this Harley's needs questionnaire as well. I mean, give him a questionnaire and say, where am I? How am I meeting your needs? What do you need? What is there that will make you happy? Let's give you a good checkup. And what can I do to make your day better? What is there that you need this week? Are there practical things? What's on your heart? Sometimes, and now I'm talking to marriages that are relatively healthy. If you are in a ditch again, or there's a lot of conflict, first need to debrief the conflict and separate those two, calm down, work through a lot of forgiveness, and then work through hope and recommitment and repentance, confession, forgiveness, and then we can start to renegotiate needs and those things. So I'm not really talking to the marriage that is in the dumps. They need to hear this as well, because they'll have to apply this, but they have to have some rescue remedies before that. Okay, so they will not just be rescued by this. So it will definitely make a difference, but there's a lot of other things. But if you start loving your spouse, I mean, they're sure to experience the love, and after a while feel loved. And unless they're really blocking you, and I mean they've gone away, that's a different picture as well. There's some other strategies there, but that's probably not for tonight's forum. Okay, so ask questions, questions that show your interest in their lives and in their needs. I mean, one of the complaints that I hear often is that my husband or my wife does not really care about what is going on in my life. I mean, and as fresh as tonight, my wife asked me, how was your day? Tell me about this, tell me about that. How are you feeling? What is going on? She's showing interest. And that's great. And we actually spoke about tonight and about the needs that I have and she has, and we negotiated. So, and it was important to talk through the details. But okay, so, and then once you have those, or once you know what your partner needs, action it. And try and action it without your partner even repeating it or having to repeat it. That's the key. If you really want to make them feel loved, repeat it without asking 20 times. So what is it that you need again? A foot rub. Oh, goodness. Uh, go and just check, but just do it, because now you get to know them. And then ask and put forth your own requests as well. So the idea there is that you also have needs, and then putting your partner's needs first doesn't mean you put your needs 775th, 775, whatever. It doesn't mean you're lost in the queue. It just means that your priority is your partner. But when you do put forth your needs, you put it forth in a clear manner, putting forth requests. It must be doable, practical, simple. I use an example. I say, if you go to a restaurant and you say, I want food, you call the waiter and you say, food, give me food now. Well, they're bound to bring you something, but you need to be specific. They give you a menu and you choose something and you ask how medium, well done, screwed up, or rare, or raw. Well, how do you like your meat? Bloody? So whatever, you just, you order it specifically. And if it's not according to that, you send it back. Or you're like some South Africans, you just eat it up and you just never go back to that place. Or you don't tip the waiter well. This stupid place. Any case, so that's what South Africans do, passive aggressive. But you need to be practical and simple and clear. So just saying to your partner, love me, that's, or help me, that's very vague. So rather try and be specific. And then you need to be realistic. Some of us have low EQs, we really struggle we get married. I don't know why, because we don't have EQs. We're not really committed to working at our EQs. What? You just get married. Why? So you need to work at your EQ, but be realistic. Give your partner some grace if they are really trying to learn how to love you. Not all of them know really how, but if they're trying to, and if they're not good at it, maybe they're putting in some effort. Maybe they are giving you something else, or communicating in some way that they know how best. So it's also important to think the best of your partner. Now again, if there's lots of unfinished business, hurt and damage, difficult to do that. Trust has been broken, but in this relationship where you're still growing together, you need to take ownership for growing, but give your spouse a break as well, just in the learning curve, And continue to care for your spouse, even when they are still struggling to reciprocate. That's your obedience to the Lord. That's the agape love, that you're giving without receiving. Obviously, it cannot go on forever. There needs to be some change. Your partner does need to reciprocate, but your motivation is different. You don't do that because your partner is going to reciprocate. You do that because the Lord is so good, and that's where you need to bathe in His love and in His word and worship. And Jesus says, abide in my love. That means just stay there, focus on it, meditate on it. Paul says, be praised that you might realize how high and how deep and how wide the love of God is, and the love of Christ is, that you realize how much you are loved. So that's something that you can pray for, that the Lord will reveal to you how much He loves you and how much He loves your spouse, so that you can understand that will fill you with love, and that will help you to love them unconditionally. It's difficult, but God is awesome. If He really fills you with that love, it does make a difference. And your spouse needs to just know their value, so you continue to admire and to give compliments in what we call the interactional pattern analysis developed by late Professor Charles Foster. He mentioned that people have a few emotional needs in relationships, and one of them is acknowledgement and confirmation, that we do need to be acknowledged in our world, and just our presence needs to be acknowledged. We need to be confirmed of who we are, what we mean to other people, what contribution we make, how we make a difference in other people's lives, successes. And we also do need accurate feedback if we screw up or if we do well. And we need understanding, warm understanding, non-judgmental. And Carl Rogers, a clinical psychologist who was a theorist, said something important. He said we need unconditional positive regard. We need our partner to regard us positively, unconditionally. That is tough, but that is powerful. And we use that in therapy. And then we also need genuineness, honesty, openness, and all of those things build trust. And then we do need commitment to somebody else to fulfill our needs. Now, important. How do we not? Let me first go. I just want to say, if you want to negotiate your needs, there are ways to do it and ways not to do it. So I'm going to give you some practical tips on ways to do this, and then we're going to look at ways not to do this, so how to negotiate those clashing needs. But how to discuss your needs, in marriage. I've got an article on this, and I'm going to give you some ideas from that article. So, we all have needs, like I said, and we all have all kinds of, challenges in our lives, and we do need our partners. We are stronger together. There's that African proverb: if you want to go far, go alone. If you want to go if you want to go fast, screwed up the quote. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. When you think about this, if you want to go fast, so then you're alone. You don't need to take into account anybody else's needs or whatever. You can just go. But if you want to go far, and that's the positive outcome of really effectively communicating your needs, is that you will have long-term success in the relationship. So it's important that if you invest in this from an early age, it's like saving for your retirement. It will just accumulate and you'll get the snowball effect. But okay, as our lives develop and we get children and our work becomes more complex, we're no longer just an appy or a junior. We grow into become the senior, the consultant, or whatever. We have children, they're at school, now they have demands, and the demands on us grow. So we have different needs, and our needs become more complex as well. Or sometimes they're still the same needs, but our lives become complex. But we do have more needs of each other, and the team, it's like playing in the higher league. You don't just play it at a local level anymore. It's now international level. So we do need more training. We do need more coaching, more effectivity. We need to be very effective, very clear, and our communication needs to be high up there. So it's similar in life. But what we tend to do is we tend to go to the Olympics, the marital Olympics, with just the high school training. That's a surefire way to have a disaster. So you need to invest in the training in your marriage in order to grow, so that your marriage can meet those challenges. Okay, if you don't do this, make yourself ready for a very difficult, hard relationship that will probably end in some affair or divorce. Yes, I know I'm going about this very sensitively and very gently. But that's the reality. Okay, so you do need to talk. I know some guys have 7 words per day. Guys, you need to pick it up. You need to talk. And even if you say, oh, but I don't have all these needs, I can go without it. No, then you shouldn't be married. You can't go without it. Your wife needs you. If you're married, you need to work at the marriage. Otherwise, what are you doing there? Okay, 10 steps that you can use to talk about your needs to your spouse. The first question is, who do you need? Now, I've already addressed that. That means that you cannot be overly dependent on your spouse to meet in all your needs and to fulfill you and to make you happily ever after. And I saw that in the movie over the weekend. The guy said, I'm going to go after this girl because she's the only one that I've been happy with. She's made me happy. Hey, boy, you are immature and you're just overly dependent on her to make you happy. Yes, you're going to go for a disaster. Girl, run. So your partner cannot make you happy, but they can contribute to your happiness. You need to take responsibility to go to the Lord and to, He'll be your source of all of your needs. And from there, it overflows. Now, obviously, God gives you a human and you have human needs, and you do need your partner, and you do need your partner to fulfill you. It's interdependence, but not overdependence. Or independence. We have interdependence, but our dependence is on the Lord. Make sense? Okay, what do you need? It's very important that you pin it down. Like I said, you do need to be clear. Like, do you need 30 minutes to recharge today? Do you need help with bathing the children? Do you need help with, taking the children to school? All those things you need to be very clear, and those things make a difference. Do you need 20 minutes of alone time with your partner? Do you need intimacy? And then you need to be clear about when you're going to discuss your needs with your partner. Some people try and discuss the needs at 6:30 at night when the wife's in front of the stove or the husband's there and their children are running around making havoc. They've just been in the bath and they're happy, but they're crazy. And your wife's just trying to just maintain a sane mind. And you say, how about some intimacy tonight, baby? And she's like, how about me giving you some of this food? No, that's not the right time, huh? You should have started with that a long time ago. Let's pick your time. Make sure that you have a clear context. Is what we talk about, a clean context, a quiet time when you want to discuss things with your wife. Phone her when you're driving back from work. Phone your husband when you're wherever, and discuss things. Or ask them what's the best time to talk to you today, to talk to you about what we need and what I need, and I want to hear where you are at and what you need. What would be a good time, and then and do that. Now, it's important for you to ask, what does my partner need? If you ask what they need, it shows that you care. So your first question is not, please do this for me. Your first question is, what can I do for you? You see that in marketing. You ask the client, how can we help you? That kind of thing. So you don't do that. How can I help you? But it makes him feel you're interested. And then I said you need to be specific. And then another thing that's really interesting and it's important is to ask and not to tell. So asking is different from telling. Asking gives the other person a choice. It's not demanding, instructing, blaming, nagging. But some people ask in a controlling manner. They ask you, but they're actually telling you. They say, will you please do this? Will you please do that? Oh, please get that for me. Please get that. And they're so nice, you can't refuse. But then after a while, you realize you're being moved around like a servant and you're doing all the things. But sometimes they do that because you're not proactively engaging and they're now taking the lead. So it does go both ways. You do need to engage and you do need to step up and say, what is there that I can do? How can I help you? What can I do? Take the lead, especially husbands, take the lead. Sometimes we need to negotiate and say the wife is good at this area, she's going to take the lead there. But the husband, in the Christian view, remains the leader. It doesn't mean he's the boss. Who's the boss, like the old show? It's not he's the boss and the wife is the slave. That's ridiculous. You need to really do your research. The word does not say that. He says he's the leader. I know it was. Some people really took it that way and abused it, but that's not what the Lord wanted. Jesus didn't come to earth and tell us that he's the boss and we got to serve him or die. That's not what he said. He loved us. He gave himself up for us. So that's what he means when a husband has to lead. He leads by example. But he does need to sometimes step up like a manager at a team and say, okay, let's resolve this. How are we going to do this? How are we going to give each person a chance to talk and give some guidance? So we do need to do that and do it in a kind way. But if you just go into the instruction mode, then you're the boss. And that's not really what you want from a marriage because we are both, equal in a sense. We're equal in worth. We're different in roles. But we are both adults. And then, what we do need is sometimes one person needs to go and make a sacrifice for the other person and just do something that is going to bless them and help them. But many a times we need to look at some form of win-win where each person gives up something and it's a compromise. And but the best way really is it's not really when we do the compromise. It's when we work together and when we collaborate. And when we collaborate, that leads to cooperation. So it sounds strange, but we see each other as important. We value each other. You value your partner's needs, and then you work out something together. And in the end, that leads to cooperation. And it's important to make specific dates with each other. You know, in this busy life that we have, if we don't make specific dates, then another week goes by, another week goes by. We haven't gone on a date night. My wife loves date nights. I love all kinds of dates, but she loves the going out kind of date night where we go to a restaurant or whatever. She loves that, but I need to specifically diarize that. If I don't, other things just take priority, and it's not how it should be. So I need to now go and say, wifey, Elsie, I'd like to take you out for a date. That also makes her feel loved because I initiate it. Because then what happens is if I don't do it, then she comes and she says, when can we have a date? But it will make her feel much more loved. And to be honest, I neglected that for a number of years. I just didn't man up there, and I didn't initiate the dates. And I'm still working at that. I've not arrived there yet. But sometimes you need to be a little bit rigid and make certain fixed dates, and that'll help because it's like you're setting a priority. Think of work where you really know you need to see your manager, and then you just arrange certain dates, and those dates are fixed. And then you know at least you're going to see each other there. If you can't get hold of each other today, at least you're going to see each other on that date. So it makes a difference. So it's the same with a marriage. Why does it need to be different? It's just not work. It is fun as well. But you do need to apply some work skills. And then you do need regular check-ins. That is the last one there, is to make a habit to talk to each other daily. Check in, how are you doing? Have some wine or coffee, whatever, every day. Just take out a few minutes to ask each other. Now, initially when we got married, my wife would talk an hour, flat poppy. And I was the quiet one listening, and I needed to step up and also learn to talk, and she needed to back down and listen. So it's important to remember that your partner is also there to make the effort to check in with them. If you're tired and overworked, you do need to set some boundaries with work, because otherwise, if your priorities are not fully in place, I mean, what will happen is you will give, instead of 45 or 50 hours or 42 hours or whatever it is a week to your work, you'll give 75, 95 hours, and what's left for you, the Lord, the children, your wife, nothing. So and that'll obviously create the imbalance and the resistance and frustration. I want to give you a wonderful quote that I read from a psychological point of view that was really great. I felt that this one really it clinched the commitment issue. So what they said is, and this I read on a Psychology Today article, and I can give you the name of the author, and it was Catherine Aponte, and I think she really nailed it with this. I don't necessarily agree with her, I don't know, with everything she says, but this was great. She said most people think the idea of commitment between husband and wife is about staying together through thick and thin. This is what is called an aspirational statement. What you believe should occur and hope will occur in your marriage. The commitment to negotiate collaboratively around the issues that you will face during your marriage is the hard work needed to achieve this aspiration. The willingness to negotiate issues in good faith with your spouse is so important that I believe it rises to the level of a vow you are willing to make and remake throughout your marriage. So that says, the fact that you said, I'll be with you for the rest of my life, is a great promise, but that is empty if you don't follow through with that vow through action. So it's just an aspirational statement if you don't follow it through with the commitment to work at your relationship. Otherwise, it's just a hope or a wish or a vain promise. So the Lord says, yes, you promised it initially. Now, in order for you to fulfill your promise, you are going to apply these skills on a daily basis. so that you can come to the point where you actually keep your vow. So you keep your vow by trying to apply it. Now I can hear the question, but what if my marital partner does not keep their vow to do this? Yes, you are right. And that is another program, How to Survive in a Loveless Marriage, or when your partner does not want to reciprocate. And that is a very valid question, and I think that needs to be addressed and given enough time as well. But I think the first comment on reciprocal love just hints in that direction, that if you start to do this, at least you are changing, and at least you are changing the destructive pattern between the two of you, and you are adding love. And that has the chance, it improves the chances of winning your partner. Doesn't guarantee it, but it improves it. Okay, so this quote is great, isn't it? So it means that for us to really keep our vows, we need to be honest and work at the relationship. And it's hard. It's not easy. It is bloody sometimes, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to cause blood to flow. Okay, so what do we not do? And now I wrote a satirical, not a cynical, satirical article about this, how to cause fights about needs. So I'm going to post both of them. They're on the website mattersofthesoul.org. And I wrote this to show people how not to do it, but it was that there is a lot to be learned on what not to do. So some of those things is I already looked at, not to be dependent on your spouse to fulfill all your needs, because you'll just become a heavy burden, and you'll jump from partner to partner because you'll suck them dry, and you'll become more and more hysterical and depressed as time goes on, because people cannot really save you. Another thing you shouldn't do is to assume that your partner knows what you need without you telling them. So people aren't mind readers. And I know men fall into this trap, and they say, yeah, but if you really know me, you should love me, you should know. Now, you need to make it clear. And sometimes you need to make it clear abundantly and repeat it. And sometimes you do need to repeatedly ask if you're not sure. And then if they don't do it, now you've not told them, and they don't really know what to do. They're trying to love you in their way. And then what you need to do then is to blame them, and to tell them that if they really cared about you, they will do this and they will know. No, that's not the way. The way is to really be open and honest about it. Now, another way not to do it is to keep your feelings to yourself, and then one day just explode in a fit of rage, and then blame them for being so selfish. You're a pig. You just love yourself. But you've not made it very clear. You've not spoken up. You've not reached out to them. This will leave them feeling overwhelmed and helpless to fulfill your needs. Or be vague. Do speak, but be vague, like I said. Keep them guessing. Or please only your partner's needs and never mention what you want. That was me. Because what that will do is if you give in to their requests and you don't negotiate for yours, it will give them the impression that you are happy with the status quo, and then they'll just continue, and you will build up resentment and feel empty and depressed. And then later on you'll probably leave. Demand what you need, and control your partner by telling them what they should and shouldn't do. That will just bark it out and just be domineering. That will just make them make sure that they'll know that they're not equal to you and that they're not safe in this relationship. Water gives life. Just criticize your partner's character using labels and insults, and just add some label to your blame. You're nasty, inconsiderable, big, those things. Manipulate them, whine, complain, let them feel guilty. I heard about this life insurance salesman that told the people they really didn't want to sign this or get this life insurance, and he said, so for tonight, just sleep on it, and if you wake up tomorrow morning, tell me what you think. So talk about manipulating people. So sometimes we manipulate. Am I not important to you? You never spend time with me. You always go out with your friends, and they're more important than I am. Yes, it might be factually true, but you're whining. Say it in a calm manner. or not an angry or whining manner. Or be unreasonable, that ask more than they can give, or be rigid and don't accommodate them, and it's your way or the highway, baby. Or always give excuses. Always have valid excuses. And whenever they confront you about that, you just throw a tantrum. But I have this to do and that, and I've got a headache. Shoot down whatever they ask of you. Just give them a go, give strong arguments for your needs and do it vehemently. And that will cause a good amount of friction and you will win temporarily though. So it doesn't work, does it? You need to sit down and calmly communicate those things. Or you can ignore your partner and only do what you want. Live your own life. Be independent in the relationship. Why did you get married in the first place then? Because that's just rejecting your partner. And that is really selfish. Now, some people say, but I ignore them because they just never reach out to me, or I just seek distance for safety. Again, that's the more of a dilemma in the relationships where they are in the ditch, more of abusive relationships. I'm not talking about this, but these do sound like abuse, don't they? But they are actually abusive. Or you can spite your partner by actively doing what they do not like. Give them black roses. No, don't do that. Don't make it clear that you don't care. Do the opposite. So these are sure ways to start a fight and to break up the relationship. So the idea here is not to deny that your partner have needs or your own needs, but to actively sit down, acknowledge their needs, listen to their needs, and make it a priority to show them that you care about them. I mean, how's your partner going to feel when you do that? They're going to feel loved. They're bound to feel loved. And if they feel loved, aren't they going to want to be with you? So you become irresistible. You become attractive. You attract them by loving them. I heard a testimony today of a lady who died on the operating table and was in front of the Lord, and she saw the beauty and the love of God, and she said he was so attractive. She told him, I could worship you forever. And that's just how he is. He overwhelms us with his love. Now, sometimes we have those conflicting needs that just struggle, and we struggle to find the middle ground, like I said, the win-win. But that's where we need to negotiate. Otherwise, the relationship becomes imbalanced. One person gets more of their own needs met, or it becomes hard and rigid, or a bit of a domineering one. Or if you don't get your needs met, then you throw a tantrum, you're angry, you sulk, you throw a big wall of stone. We call it the stone walling. You ignore your partner or you punish them. No, we're not going to go out because your mother did this or your father did that. We're not going to do this anymore. You take control and you punish them. That's not the way to go about it. That's selfish. That's insecure. You need to sit down, humble yourself, and be honest about your feelings. And if you're upset and hurt, you can be honest about those as well. If your partner isn't a safe person, meaning they continue to blame and attack and control, I mean, obviously you'll need to have some additional protection, communicative protection. And that is a session for abusive relationships. But if your partner does not really listen, because there are ways to negotiate in order that it becomes a safe relationship. But if it's not that way, then you do need assertiveness to protect yourself. Not aggression, not passive hiding in a pleasing, fearful way. That is the effect of abuse, or fakely saying everything is well and just denying the facts on the table because it's so difficult to acknowledge that it's not okay, because then you'll have to face the fact that these things are really happening. Or it's rather a place of assertively, that means respectful towards yourself and the other person, addressing the problems in a calm, clear, but firm manner as well. Sometimes you'll need to be firm if you are negated, rejected, and abused. You'll need to take firm steps. And assertiveness skills are very important. Because we need three basic things if we want to negotiate needs. And the first is that we do need to show understanding to our partner. If you're angry at your partner, you cannot really do this. You need to calm down and forgive them before you talk to them. But that's what you need. And if you don't get understanding, try and show understanding. But if they really are attacking and blaming, you'll need to set some boundaries and say, listen, I want to talk to you now, but it's very difficult to talk to you if you are screaming at me, if you're so angry. Could you please calm down, and then we'll talk again? And that is not being resistant or rebellious or whatever. That is just being fair and decent. So we both have to sit and say our relationship has a dilemma. We want to figure out what our needs are. What is the needs conflict that we have? We, not you, don't want to do what I want to do. You're selfish. No, we want to identify what our needs are, and then we want to work towards finding mutual ground so that we can talk about it. Now, I've got other programs on how to do this, and I'm writing a book. It's in the How, Mastering the Art of Communicating with People. So it gives you the summary of how. So you want to come to a mutually workable resolution, something that works for both persons mostly, or something where the other person says, but I want to do that for you. I want to sacrifice. And that's where the Holy Spirit works in your heart to love your partner. And I remember at some point my wife and I've had different times where we had to decide we are going to love our partners unconditionally. But that does not mean you don't address conflict. But in this process, you do need what we call emotion regulation. You do need to regulate your emotions. You cannot scream at your partner and expect them to hear you. They're going to shut down or scream back. You need to figure out your own emotions, calm yourself down, pray about this first before you talk, and then so that you can make sound decisions, so that you don't fall into the trap of just controlling the situation. And if you find yourself, if your personality tends to be the one that is more expressive and extroverted and controlling, then you do need to work at that and be aware of that. And if your partner is the more quiet, reserved one, then you need to know that if you're going to come across forcefully, they're going to withdraw. And if you're more quiet, then you need to know if you're not going to come out and speak up and assert yourself, the other party will fill the space. The extrovert doesn't need a lot of excuses to fill the space, but you don't give them, you should assert yourself with somebody that has a very strong interactional style, a very assertive person. You need to be assertive, not aggressive, assertive. Meaning you be clear, you talk about your needs, you negotiate win-wins. You don't sit back and ah. If you're depressed or you're burnt out, obviously it'll be difficult to figure it out, but then you need to request time. Not 6 weeks, but if request some time and then go and do some thinking and praying work and come back and talk about your needs. Okay. Now, just to give you a few more ideas, and I always have a lot to say about this, but it's the kindergarten, the nursery school rules that we give children. Hey, you need to share, you need to take turns, you need to make dates. Tomorrow you're going to do that, and today I'm going to play on this one. That's what we teach our children, but sometimes we forget that in our marriage, and it's really simple, but it works. So when you've figured out your needs, you need to take turns or make or share whatever you have, or how you're going to do this. And we do that with a date night. We share and we take turns. This time it's your turn to choose where we're going and what we're going to do, and the other party goes along with that with joy, and they don't complain. And we do those kinds of things with holidays as well, and with movies. We take turns and we share, and all those things work out well. It sounds simple, and you know the solution, but it works. If it works for children, it'll work for adults. So to come to a conclusion here, your relationship is based on needs, and you have the Holy Spirit to really help you fulfill your needs. And just like you have your partner that you need to spend time with, you also need to spend time with the Lord, so that He can also minister to you, and that you can then go and minister to others, because He's the initial one to fulfill your needs. And then in the end, what He will do is He will help you to love your spouse, and he does the inner work of talking about forgiveness and reminding you to do certain things practically. And then all of this is done in the spirit of love, meaning in the attitude of love. Now, another thing, if you've screwed up, if you've made mistakes, the great news with the Lord is that you can say you're sorry. You can repent. You can come back and say, you know what, I messed up here. I really want to work at this. Could you please help me? This is a vulnerable position by telling me if I actually do this or I don't do that. But that takes a lot of maturity and safety in a relationship. Really doesn't work in an abusive relationship with a partner that doesn't have self-control over how they speak to you. But that is the ideal, is to say, please give me feedback, help me to love you. And if I forget, please remind me, because otherwise we get into a place of defensiveness and blaming each other, and then we become really oversensitive to what the other party does and doesn't do. And then you need to know you're in your own frame of reference, meaning you've gone back into how you think and how that partner of yours is acting towards you and how they're not. So then you need to go back to the Lord and say, Lord, help me, because I'm hurt. Clearly I'm hurt and I'm upset. I need to deal with this. Now, how can I now address this dilemma with my partner so that I can focus on those needs? And if you screw up, stand up, say you're sorry to the Lord and to your partner, and then move on. Rather start doing the good things, the better things, than to just keep on reminding each other of how you've messed up. Okay, so that was a whole mouthful, and that was a lot to take in. What I'm thinking of doing is to set up live discussions or discussion groups where we have, you can pay 50 Rand, and then we have an hour or 2 hours of discussion groups, and that so that we can discuss certain topics. So I'm going to be advertising that as well on the Facebook page. Do go to our YouTube channel as well. If you've enjoyed this program, please go to the YouTube channel, Matters of the Soul. If you're already on that, please like and subscribe, click the bell so that you're notified when we upload a new video, and we do that weekly. And I'm also going to start a new series, Ask Erich, so you can post your questions and I'll try and answer them. And those will be shorter videos. So if you're not already following us on Facebook, you can also do that. YouTube, like I said, or you can go to my website, mattersofthesoul.org, go and browse around there, find some articles, and also go to the Afrikaans website, Sake vir die Siel, Sake van die Siel.org, en daar kan julle nog video's kry. Baie videos. They are on the Afrikaans side. There's lots of my old videos as well, and they're also on the YouTube channel, Matters of the Soul. It was great spending time with you. I'd love to hear from you as well. Please give me your comments and your questions and your criticisms. Great stuff. God bless you. Until next time. Goodbye.